What you're about to see here is, in all seriousness, one of the most extreme segments I've ever seen on Fox News. And that really says a lot, because you know it's a cesspool. But take a look at this.
I mean, for a while, we wanted to keep them alive because they actually would help us with intelligence, whether they knew it or not. They would mention certain things, notice their body language, and help us get bin Laden and others. But they've been out of touch now for since 2001, so that they don't really have the contacts. So you wonder why we just don't kill them, and put them on trial. They all should get the death penalty, and we already know the facts. Most of them have admitted to it, and now they're belligerent and they're in our face and they're laughing.
And it makes us look unserious. It makes us look exactly. It makes us look unserious on the global stage. Look at those Americans 20 years later, can't figure it out. There will be no consequences. Lawyer up and you're just fine.
Can't overstate how dead wrong they are about all of it. Obviously, the kill them all, that's beyond egregious and immoral and unethical and evil and wrong from that perspective, but also just on the facts of it, they're wrong. So here's what I mean. Guys, every, investigative look at Guantanamo Bay and what happened there and who is there, every single one comes back and they say, oh my God, all these people are innocent. Not guilty. Not guilty. We're one of the few outlets that's really gone deep on this topic over the years, where there was I believe it was a fantastic Guardian article that really broke it down, but most of the people at Guantanamo Bay, the way they got there is the sketchiest thing you've ever heard in your life. After 9/11, you had Bush and Cheney reached out to warlords in Afghanistan and Pakistan and said, listen, we were just attacked and we need to get the people who did it. And the people who did it are Al-Qaeda. And so what happened is they cut a deal with warlords in Afghanistan and Pakistan, and these warlords went out and rounded up all of their political enemies and shipped them to the United States and said to Bush and Cheney, here's Al-Qaeda. That's what happened. People weren't Al-Qaeda. They were the enemies of the warlords in Afghanistan and Pakistan, and it turns out not the most trustworthy people. By the way, it also turns out some of these warlords have child sex slaves, and U.S. soldiers were told to keep quiet when they blew the whistle on that and said, why are we allying with people who have child sex slaves? Aren't these the people who we should be fighting? Aren't these the people who we should be saving the population and the children from? No. Shh, be quiet. Be quiet about it. These are our allies. So the people who are at Guantanamo Bay and were at Abu Ghraib, a lot of them are innocent. A lot of them are innocent. By the way, even if they weren't, there's this thing called due process and human rights that applies, where yes, you have to have some sort of a system. You have to have a day in court. You have to have a way to adjudicate the guilt or innocence of the person, because this is what civilized people do. What you're hearing on Fox News is an argument for blatant savagery. That's what you're hearing. Kill them all. They should all get the death penalty. Most of them admitted to it. What are you talking about? Most of them admitted to it. It's the exact opposite. All the data shows, all the evidence shows, most of the people there are totally innocent. We have detailed stories on individuals who were there. Just to give one example, because I remember covering this years back, look up a guy by the name of Murat Kurnaz. I believe he was like a German citizen who was in the Middle East, and he was just swept up and shipped off to Guantanamo Bay, and he was there for so long, and I think the German government had to get involved and be like, you got to release what are you doing? He's a German citizen. You can't do this. They actually say it makes us look unserious that we're not killing them all. No, what makes us look unserious is having Guantanamo Bay in the first place. Having an illegal and unconstitutional and extrajudicial prison. That's what makes us look unserious. By the way, these people always pretend like they love the Constitution and they scream it from the rooftops. This is the most insanely unconstitutional thing I've ever seen. The government is supposed to not violate your protection from cruel and unusual punishment. It's obviously cruel and it's obviously unusual to lock people up extrajudicially and torture them. And the details of the torture are, of course, out of this world as well. But they're arguing for more savagery. They're arguing for being barbaric, for killing people, even though there was no process, and even though what we do know already up front is that a lot of these people are innocent. That's Fox News for you. Now, again, listen, in a world that made sense, this is one of those things that actually crosses a line. I mean, this actually crosses a line. This is people who are supposed to be on-air personalities journalists or reporters or whatever they consider themselves, and this is them not doing their job. To do your job effectively in one of these positions, you should give information, you should be educational, you can give your opinion, but this is flat out advocating for direct violence. That's what this is. And by the way, I haven't heard of this. This got no coverage. Props to Case Study QB for finding this, but I didn't hear anybody talk about this anywhere. When to me, yet again, this is an example of like, this is a big story. Now that's what we do on our conservative networks. We advocate for murder casually. That's what we do. They don't count because they're brown and they're, at Guantanamo. So fuck them. This is the thought process. Is this where we are? Apparently this is where we are. You're only going to hear about this here. Casually advocating for murder on Fox News.